In this video, I'm going to talk about how to choose the correct size softball glove and everything else that you need to know about gloves. So let's first start with the difference between a youth glove and a regular glove. The main difference between the two is that a youth glove will have a little bit of a smaller hand opening. I use Valley gloves, so I'm going to use their measurements. Glove companies aren't going to be exactly the same, but it'll be very similar. So for example, this youth glove hand opening is 6 to 7 inches, whereas the regular glove is 7 to 7.5 inches. Now, some glove companies will say that their youth gloves have a little bit smaller finger hole, so they're a little bit more narrow, which will help fit the athlete better. But I personally feel like if you put a glove on and it's tight enough in the wrist, the finger holes don't really matter. Because I'll show you my hand in this youth glove. My fingers and the finger hole, there's some space in there. So it's never gonna be completely around your fingers and super tight. As long as the wrist is tight and secure, the fingers hole don't really matter that much. Now, I use a regular glove, so this is a glove that I use. My hand fits in it great. However, I can also put on a youth glove and it feels comfortable. So don't think because you are a certain age, you have to move up to a regular glove. I would recommend going into a store, putting a youth glove on your hand and a regular glove if you're not sure which one to get, and see which one feels most comfortable. So now let's talk about how to choose the correct size for an infielder and outfielder. For infielders, you want to choose between about 11.5 to 11.75. Now, this will be player preference. I actually have an 11.5. I feel anything over 11.75 is way too big. And when I say way too big, as an infielder, we need to have quick transfers. When we field a ball, the ball should be hitting into our pocket and deflecting into our throwing hand. When we have a very big glove, so let's say we have a 12 or 12.5 inch glove in the infield, you have a lot of extra web, which means the ball is gonna go into your glove and it's gonna get lost. So ideally, the smaller the glove, the better. For outfield, the average size is about 12.5 inches to 13 inches. And again, this is player preference, but I just personally feel the bigger glove that I have, the harder it is to control. Now, outfield, you do want a bigger glove because you need more web. You need to be able to stretch your glove out, catch the ball, so that requires a bigger web. So the smaller the glove in the infield, the bigger the glove in the outfield. Now, the difference between the two, infield has a shallower pocket, whereas an outfield glove has a deeper pocket. Now, let's say you're both infield and outfield. In an ideal world, you would have two gloves. Not everyone can do that. So I would recommend 12 inches. Yes, 12 is a little bit too big for the infield in my opinion, but it's also maybe a little bit too small for the outfield. But if you're going back and forth, you don't want a massive glove for the infield or a really small glove for the outfield. First baseman, I don't have a first base glove, but the average size for a first baseman is 12.5 to 13 inches. If you have very good quality leather, I would recommend 13 inches. With that, glove sizing does not go by the size of your hand. So what I mean by that, if you're itty bitty, let's say you're 7 years old and you have a very small hand, that doesn't mean you need a 9-inch glove or a really, really small glove just because your hand is so small. Again, it goes back to how you size is this hand opening. That also means, let's say you have a really big hand, that doesn't mean in the infield you need a 12.5 to 13-inch glove. You would just need a bigger hand opening. A common misconception with glove sizing is they think, if I move up in size in this ball, then I have to move up in size in the glove, and that's just not the case. A 12-inch ball can fit in any size glove. And I'm gonna show, for example, my trainer glove. This is 7.5 inches. The ball fits in this glove. Now, no one's ever gonna use this size in a game, but it just goes to show that a 12-inch ball can fit into a really, really small glove. So let's talk about the different types of leather. This leather is kip leather. This leather is steer hide. Kip leather is going to be your highest quality. It's going to be a little bit lighter. It will be firmer, but the break-in period is going to be a little bit shorter. Whereas with steer hide, the quality is still going to be great. It's just not going to be as high of quality as kip leather. It's going to be a little bit heavier, just a little bit, and the break-in period is going to be a little bit longer. Now, I'll be honest, I don't notice much of a difference. Now, my glove, which is kip leather, might be a little bit lighter, but the quality to me feels the same. Now, I'm not a glove expert, but just picking them both up, looking at them and feeling them, they seem very similar to me. So if you're going back and forth on which one to choose, I wouldn't spend too much time worrying about it. Every company is different, but some youth gloves are cheaper because the quality isn't as high. And when I say the quality, I mean the leather. So the cheaper gloves are going to be lesser quality, but it's going to be a lot easier to open and close the glove. It will be flimsier. I don't think it's going to last as long as a high quality leather glove, but if you are just starting out, let's say 8 years old, you don't want to spend $300 on a glove, you can get that cheaper glove, so it's a lot easier to open and close. It just might not last you as long. In regards to the web, I again think that's just player preference. So infielders, the most common ones are H or I web. I always go with H, but I know a lot of infielders like to have that open web. That way if they field a ball, dirt can come out. It doesn't have all that dirt in the glove. The only time I see a closed web are for pitchers. And the reason for that way they can hide the ball in their glove. For outfielders, the web choice varies, but you just want to have an open web in the outfield so you have visibility of the ball. A common question I get is, can my softball player use a baseball glove? And to keep it short and simple, yes, you can definitely use a baseball glove in softball, but there is a little bit of a difference in the pocket size. So I have a baseball glove, and this is a glove that I've been using, obviously for softball. So they're both worn in. A baseball glove's pocket is going to be a little bit deeper and narrower, whereas a softball glove, the pocket's going to be wider because the ball is bigger. So it's not a huge difference to where if I were to use this baseball glove while playing softball, the ball's not going to pop out every time. It'll go in, but if you can choose a softball glove because the pocket's going to be wider and there's going to be more room for the ball to go into. Now, if your daughter has a nice glove, but it's way too big on her hand and you don't want to have to buy her another glove because gloves are expensive, Valley actually created this called the backhand, and it's really neat because it goes on any glove, not just Valley glove, and it acts as a spacer. So you put it right on the wrist, and when you go to put your hand in the glove, it makes it a lot tighter. So that way you don't have to buy another glove. It just tightens up and that glove's gonna stay on her hand. So if you're looking for a very high quality glove, I really recommend Valley. You can customize it to whatever colors that you want, and you can also use code MEGREN for 10% off your glove. If you take care of these gloves the right way, they will last you a very long time.